For years, all we knew of Rox was that he was a fearsome pirate with an insanely powerful list of allies. But in recent chapters of One Piece, we finally learned just how full this man's life was before it was unfortunately snuffed out. Born from the infamous Davy family, making him a Davy D. Jones ancestor, Xebec covered his real last name, Davy, with Rox to keep hidden from the world government. If they knew the truth, they would have came after him for his bloodline, since Davy Jones was one of the direct enemies of Emu during the Void Century. Not much is known about Rox's childhood or family, except that being a part of the Davy lineage put him in danger. About 56 years before the series begins, Rox attacked Mary Geoise during the most important time of year, the Reverie. At the same time, he took 5 kings hostage and kept the upper hand, as well as straight up killing a Marine admiral. And then he invaded the Room of Flowers and came across Emu themselves. After the ruler showed no interest in the king's well-being, Rox promised to come back and defeat Emu. While escaping, he met the king of Elbaf, Harold, and though they initially fought each other in a wild show of strength, they eventually had to work together to get free of the pursuers. He even told Harold exactly where to attack to make sure their escape was successful. It was also the moment Rox decided that he would try to recruit Harold to his team the next time they meet. This event was enough to have Rox's name in the record books, but of course, he didn't stop there. For the most part, Rox only attacked the world government and affiliates with his ship and crew, and the Gates of Justice were no exception to his aggressive reign. Whenever he faced other pirates, it was usually to recruit their members or take their subordinates through a Davy-back fight. 8 productive years after the attack on the Reverie, Rox had a crew and sailed to Elbaf for Harold. He asked his son Loki, the only one there at the time, to tell his father to hurry back so that he could join Rox's crew. But when Loki rejected the request, he was attacked as a way to force Harold's hand in returning faster. But not unlike Loki's answer, it was a no from Harold's part, since he wanted to build a peaceful relationship with the world government and the rest of the world. At this point, Rox already intended to take control of Hachinosu, the pirate island, as it was largely without any structure or leader. So he knew that if he succeeded at capturing this uncontrollable place filled with criminals, even the world government wouldn't be a threat to him and his future goals. The rejection didn't deter Rox from continuing to ask Harold to join his crew, similarly to how Luffy pesters people multiple times to join him. But Rox did it for 4 years. Talk about dedication. And then he did the unthinkable. He took over Hachinosu with his crew, making it their official base that attracted many more powerful pirates. With one goal down, Rox had more lined up, besides getting Harold on his team, that is. One was to acquire 2 specific devil fruits, and the other was finding a missing group of giants called the Galila. Both these objectives related to Harold interestingly. One of the fruits he needed was on Elbaf, and he had hoped the king would consume it, and the other speaks for itself. After some time passed, Rox and his crew went after an organization that supposedly collected donations for good, and of course just used them to line their pockets. Doesn't this seem like something the Revolutionary Army would do? Anyway, when the Marines showed up with the battleships, Rox didn't hesitate to attack them as well. Just 2 years of being a crew was enough for the Rox pirates to sink dozens of ships and cause a mess for ports, towns, and even a kingdom. With so much harm being done, this period of time was dubbed the Rox Era, and even had numerous cover-ups. He thought this would be a good time to ask Harold to join him again, especially since he heard that the King of Elbaf had clashed with the world government too. But again, he didn't want to join to work on the reputation of the giants. Then, 42 years prior to the series, the leader of the Kuja pirates, Shakuyaku, aka Shaki, quit and decided to settle on Hachinosu to run a bar. This meant that she immediately stole the heart of not only Rox, but all of his male crew members as well. But that didn't mean that he couldn't fall for someone else, which he did. He secretly married a woman named Eris 2 years later and had a son with her that we all know named Teach, aka Blackbeard. Rox loved them so much that he sent them away to live on his home island of God Valley without him, so that they'd be safe from any unwanted attention. Besides being interested in Harold as a potential partner in crime, literally, Rox considered Goldie Roger his rival, and this was only made worse when Roger would show up to Shaki's bar on Hachinosu, but he couldn't fight him there due to Shaki's rules. That didn't stop them from clashing when they were outside of the island, though. Sadly, the next time Rox visited his buddy Harold, he was greeted with violence, since the giant was told to kill him if he wanted Elbaf to be considered an ally of the world government. And despite Rox trying to convince his pal that the giants would just be used by the world government because of their power, Harold saw no other way to ensure his citizens could live freely. The fight ended without a victor, but I'd say they both lost pretty big, having damaged their longtime friendship. Jumping to 39 years before the series begins, Rox and his crew found out that Shaki was kidnapped. And though he didn't want to pursue her romantically anymore, she was still a dear friend and a staple on Hachinosu for many. It took an entire year to finally figure out where she was and who had taken her. The world government, of course. And it wasn't just to be sold on auction like Cammy, it was for the Noble's infamous native hunting competition, where countless innocent people were put in danger for entertainment. Rox went without delay and told his crew to follow along, pretending as if it was solely for Shaki's release, when in fact that he had to ensure his wife and child would be saved as well, since the game took place at God Valley. But it wasn't smooth sailing to get his family away. Actually, it required Rox to not only ask for Harold to pass, but to reveal his true identity and his secret family in hopes of swaying the giant. It wasn't enough in the end, and he had to once again fight his once friend just to allow his crew to land on the island and continue forward. The Rox pirates arrived and stopped the killing of the natives on the island, but quickly had other groups to contend with, such as the Roger pirates, Garp, and the Holy Knights. Rox wasted no time looking for his wife Eris and his son Blackbeard. He found them again without much trouble, but he had to face Scarling in the process, as well as another knight. When he watched the knights transform his father and grandmother into demons, he had no choice but to escape with his family to avoid the same fate for them. Understanding the severity of the situation, his wife Eris told Rox to let them escape on their own, while he dealt with the threats, and they'd meet up at Lelusia Kingdom when it was safe. Rox fought Garling and defeated him, but then had to face an Emu-possessed Saturn next. Rox reiterated to Emu his plans to keep the Davy promise alive and to fulfill it. Meanwhile, seeing the harm being caused, Rox wasn't alone in this battle, as Garp, Roger, Linlin, Newgate, and Kaido all joined in against Emu's Saturn puppet. With a lineup that insane, you'd think it'd be impossible for them to not overcome the man. But they failed to even injure Emu. As Emu spotted the family fleeing, Rox jumped in front to keep the ruler busy and focused on him. He cut and sliced up Emu, but ended up the one injured and stabbed when Emu created extra limbs to use against Rox. Emu planned to use Dami Reversi on Rox to make him a demon that he could control. Whether because of his bloodline or his strong love for his own family, Rox was able to resist the control temporarily and use that moment to taunt Emu and to double down on the ideals of the Davy family. In a similar way, Emu angered Rox by intending to take control of the giants of Elbaf and use them as weapons for the government. The demon transformation took over Rox and forced him to attack his allies, even destroying a mountain when he fought Newgate. Against his will, he chased after his wife and son, but thankfully Kuma sent them elsewhere after consuming the pawpaw fruit, sparing them any attacks from Rox or the Marines. Emu wrongly assumed they died, and ordered Rox to kill everyone left on the island next. When Roger and Garp joined together to face Rox, he told them telepathically, possibly through the voice of all things, to kill him so that he couldn't harm anyone else, especially his family who escaped. They agreed to the request, guessing that the control was irreversible. After hours of clashing, little damage was done on Rox's body due to the Dami Reversi demon magic and the Conqueror's Haki combo. But not wanting him to go through this, the duo combined their strength and Conqueror's Haki to finally overcome Rox's power using what they call mass. After their combined blow, Rox regained control of himself, but couldn't escape his fate as Garling, Summers, and Satchel came for him next. Knowing this, Rox thanked Roger and Garp for their help and hoped that they had made it away safely as he was stabbed by Garling and ultimately killed. Following this, the entirety of the island was destroyed and sunken underwater, erased from the history books. Many Marines would never forget that day, namely Dragon, who went on to fight against the world government, and Garp, who saw the horrors of what the higher-ups would do for the world nobles, helped his son get away from any charges for saving the natives. But Sengoku also passed on his knowledge of Rox to the younger generations of soldiers to keep the history alive, without sharing too many details of what had happened that day on God Valley. Unsurprisingly, Rox's crew separated afterwards, barely seeing each other as allies without Rox himself, never bothering to share what they saw or experienced that day his life ended. But more importantly, despite ending their friendship in a bad way, Harold felt deeply saddened to hear what became of Rox, and guilty about not being there when he needed help. Rox had revealed his heritage to try and press just how important it was, and Harold still shot him down back then. When Harold ended up the way that Rox warned, Harold knew that he made a grave mistake not believing in his friend's words. That may have been the end of Rox, but Blackbeard to this day continues to carry on his will, which is also, in a way, the will of Davy Jones. And that was the entire story of Rox D. Xebec, aka Davy D. Xebec, who, in my opinion, is probably the best character in the series of One Piece. Let me know what you thought about him in the comments, and if you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe for more One Piece content like this.